It's been 10 years since the Kalos League aired, and it's known as one of the best leagues in the Pokemon anime. It gave us amazing battles such as Ash vs Sawyer and Ash vs Alan in the finals. But what if I told you that the Kalos League is actually worse than you remember? Hey Pokemon Champions, I'm Champion Blaze and welcome to the Sacred Legends Podcast, your #1 space to chill and unwind with the Pokemon anime. And in today's first episode, we're going to go over why the Kalos League may actually be far worse than we all remember. Now I know, I'm starting with a very hot take. Everyone loves the Kalos League, myself included, and I'm an XY stan. Even a DP stan as well, but XY is my second favorite Pokemon series. And I love the Kalos League. It has such great, amazing battles, fluid animation. The build-up is actually really good, especially for battles like Ash vs Sawyer and Ash vs Alan. However, despite how good we all think the Kalos League is, upon rewatching it and revisiting those episodes recently, in preparation for this podcast, I realized the league is not that good, to be honest. It is not really up to par with what we consider a Pokemon League, or at least what I consider to be a very good Pokemon League. Now, what do I mean by this before you get your torches and pitchforks? So, I know as good as the Pokemon XYZ anime is, it did really deliver really good battles in the league. But however, is it really a Pokemon League when two battles really define your league? Of course, we have Ash vs Sawyer and Ash vs Alan. These are full 6-on-6 battles that take place in the semifinals and the finals of the Kalos League, respectively. However, prior to these two battles, what really happens in the Kalos League? First off, it starts off with a very rushed first gathering episode, introducing all the rivals again, introducing the characters again, the champion, having Team Rocket there, and getting us acquainted with the setting of the league. However, the ceremony to start the league is very rushed. Firstly, we don't even see Ash's full first battle. It's a 3-on-3 up until the finals and the semifinals, but we don't even see Ash's first battle. Like, we see him go 1-on-1, Altaria versus Greninja. However, after that, we see nothing else. The episode flat out ends because it's interrupted by this guy with a furfrou who wants to challenge Ash because he is a little salty and a little upset, reasonably so, that he couldn't get 8 badges in time for the league. There's this running joke in the anipoke community that I think was started by my friend Zach, and you may know him as Zaktoshi. He used to do this a lot in his videos, where if an episode in the anime felt rushed, or if something in general felt rushed, he would say, "What is this, the Kalos League?" And while that joke is very funny, it's very true because the Kalos League is a very rushed league. It's very, very rushed. Like, they wanted to start it, wanted to get right to the semifinals and right into the finals, and almost felt as if they wanted to just end the series, or at least get to the Team Flare arc. Now, my main problem with the league is, well, yes, it is rushed. It's that the league kind of lacks substance and doesn't really stand on its own 2 feet aside from the Ash vs Sawyer and Ash vs Alan battles that we have. So I've already mentioned that Ash's first battle is rushed. It's the Altaria versus Greninja battle that we see. We get to see the transformation of Ash Greninja. We get to see Ash on a hot streak. The crowd is cheering for him. But let's continue and go a little further with the other battle that kicks off the Kalos League, which is Alan versus Trevor. Now, this, I think, really sums up the Kalos League in a nutshell as to it being rushed, it not being, as great as we remember. And this is because it starts off with a two Charizard battle. We have Alan's Charizard versus Trevor's Charizard, and we get this awesome clash of Mega Charizard X versus Mega Charizard Y, but it's over in a flash. It's over so very fast that we don't even really see the full battle because, again, the Kalos League's focus and attention is divided. Again, Trevor's battle is now interrupted by the furfrou trainer that wants to battle Ash because Ash said he promised to battle him. So now we're cutting between this battle and also cutting between Trevor's battle, and we see that Trevor is instantly losing his Aerodactyl, instantly losing his Florigest, and Alan sweeps him 3-0 with his Mega Charizard. Now, I'm not saying that's not a good way to do that battle. I think Alan sweeping Trevor makes absolute sense. Alan's Charizard has battled against Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza, and beat 10 Mega Evolved Pokemon in a row. So I'm not at all upset that Trevor stood no chance against Alan. I think we all saw that coming from a mile away. My issue is that the focus is divided between Trevor's battle and this random furfrou guy that we just met. And, I like the emotional weight that it now puts on Ash to win the league. I like that there is more, grounded substance and depth for Ash to win the league because now another trainer is looking up to him. But couldn't we have had that, maybe in the episode beforehand? Could we have had just time dedicated to that one battle? I think the issue with the league is that it wants to do so much, or really just wants to get to the finals, that it kind of squanders all the time beforehand. This league literally is made up of 3 battles. It's made up of 3 battles. It is Sawyer versus Tierno, Ash versus Sawyer, and Ash versus Alan. If your league is really only comes down to 3 battles, is it really a league to speak of? Now, I'm really not trying to bash the Kalos League and say, oh, it's the worst league ever. But it's really not as good as we remember because, again, episode 1 is the gathering episode. All the characters are reintroduced and the Kalos League kicks off, but its focus is divided. Then, let's talk about the next episode. That's where we see not Ash, but that's where we see Sawyer versus Tierno. And this battle actually gets the full attention it deserves, which is what should have happened to Ash's first battle and Trevor's first battle. We should have seen those completely on screen. And the fact that we don't, I think, really says a lot about the Kalos League and the way it was structured. On top of it, we also have these other characters. We have Astrid, who was introduced in the Mega Evolution specials, by the way. And then we have Remo, another character that I do believe was introduced in the Pokemon Mega Evolution specials. And we see Alan defeating this dude's Mega Garchomp. And we see Ash with Hawlucha defeating her Mega Absol again, that he also did in the Diancie movie, by the way. But the issue is, why do we not see these full battles? Why are we not dedicating the time to actually seeing these full battles? And I'm going to take a sip of my tea because, again, we're just chilling. We're unwinding with the Pokemon anime. And this is my Demon Slayer mug. It's a little busted. Like this is coming. Don't look at it. So why are we not seeing these full battles? I just don't understand that. And the thing is, once we get to Ash versus Sawyer and Ash versus Alan, that's literally the focus of the league. And there, aside from the 2-part Ash versus Sawyer and the 2-part Ash versus Alan, that's 4 episodes right there. The other 3 are completely rushed through. Like, even the episode in between the finals and semifinals where we meet Marin again, and she talks about her chest pin, and we get more info on the Bond phenomenon, and then there's more progression with the Team Flare arc. It's just like all these little things are now being packed into this one episode before the finals, instead of really giving the league time to breathe. It really has no time to breathe. Even Ash says, or maybe this is Alan, but one of these people, while they're battling, says, let's wrap this up. If that doesn't summarize the Kalos League, I really don't know what does. It is by far the most rushed league in history. Even all the other leagues, even the Kanto League, had some level of structure and displayed the battles in their entirety, or at least the ones that Ash was a part of, or the ones that mattered. And it just boggles my mind to this day that these characters like Astrid and Remo showing off a Mega Absol and a Mega Garchomp are not given their full 3v3 battle. Trevor, a character we've actually known prior to the Kalos League, he is not even given a full on-screen battle. We just see his Pokemon getting taken out. And I don't really think that is a great representation of the characters of the series that you are currently airing right now. And now, on top of it, why is the league in Lumio City? That's another thing that, well, not the worst thing for the league. I think they could have done, something a little bit better. Like, prior to the Kalos League, every single league that we have had, I'm talking Kanto through Unova, there has been an exclusive anime location where the league takes place. Well, except for Kanto, because, and I guess the Johto. Okay, and maybe, maybe they're just all in-game locations, actually, because Kanto is, of course, at the Indigo Plateau. Johto is at Mount Silver, the Silver Conference. Hoenn is in Evergrande City at the Evergrande Conference. And then Sinnoh is at Lily of the Valley Islands. And I guess that would be an in-game location. They just don't really name that place. It's just called Pokemon League in the game. So maybe they named it for the anime. But Unova actually has an exclusive anime location. It is Virtus City, which there's no Virtus City in the games. So Unova, I guess, actually is the only place with an anime exclusive location for its own league. So I guess hands up for Unova. Like that's a dub for the Black and White series. But going back to why it's in Lumio City, why did we not get a new location to revisit when we just had the previous league at an anime exclusive location? I get Lumios is the main central city of the Kalos region, but we could have gone somewhere else. Like, again, Sinnoh did this. Lily of the Valley Islands. I mean, yes, it's in the game, but it felt like a brand new location. It felt like a brand new area because that's not really a place you visit in the game. And then, of course, Virtuous City, no Virtuous City in the games. So I just feel like we could have gone somewhere else, you know? I just feel like there could have been a new location. There could have been a new area. We could have had this tournament in Keelud City. Keelud City is an in-game only area that we don't see in the anime. We literally could have had this league in Keelud City. I think that would have been a great idea for them to do for the league. And what else is wrong with the Kalos League? Let's find out. I'm rocking this book from Toby, Lore Keeper Toby. I'll link his store in the description. But the other thing that I want to go over with you guys is on top of it just being rushed. Like, I feel like the Kalos League just really didn't know what to focus on outside of the only three full on-screen battles that we got. I feel like the Kalos League just didn't know where it wanted to put its focus. Because again, we had a rushed opening ceremony. And with the characters that are introduced, or reintroduced, I should say, is I feel like when they are reintroduced, I feel like we don't spend enough time with them, you know? Like, let's compare to the Sinnoh League, because again, I think the Sinnoh League, and many people might agree with me on this, the Sinnoh League is the greatest league that we have in the Pokemon anime. I think it's the second longest, right behind the Alola League, if I'm not mistaken. But that league gave everybody, every battle, and everything time to breathe. There was a proper, first episode where, okay, here are all the league rivals. Here are all the people that we've come to know throughout this series. And then, let's talk about the battles that were displayed in the Kalos, not in the Kalos, in the Sinnoh League. So first there's Ash versus Nando. And while that whole battle wasn't on screen, really the parts that were on screen were the parts that mattered. Like, we did at least see Quilava and Armaldo go at it. We did see Staraptor and Roserade go at it. And then of course we got the full clash between Heracross and Kricketune. We got the full battle of Ash versus Conway. Even Barry got his full battle displayed against Paul. Paul versus Ash was a 3-episode long battle. And then of course Ash versus Tobias got the whole episode to do that. Then the league concludes. But even Ash and Paul's rivalry is wrapped up nicely in all the character interactions. I felt like the Kalos League lacked a little bit of substance, if I'm being honest with you, because we don't have those interactions. Like, they're very face value interactions. Like, the most prominent dialogues that we get they involve Sawyer and Alon. And again, those are the only people that got full battles in the entire Kalos League. Sycamore kind of there. He's just watching. And then he gives some knowledge about the bond phenomenon. But what's crazy is all the stuff that's packed into the episode right before the finals really doesn't add any new tension aside from the stuff with Marion and her Chespy. Like, we're reminded about her Chespin. Because I will give the Kalos League props, though, for subverting our expectation that this was going to be another Pokemon Lost at a League episode. And they quickly did not do that. They just reintroduced the stakes that are involved with Marin and her Chespin. It seems like Lysander is moving into Lumio City. So, I mean, that's a little bit of development, because prior, none of his goons were in Lumio City. But then, let's just talk about what Sycamore did with the bond phenomenon. There was literally no reason for Sycamore to even be in that episode, if I'm being quite honest with you. Because, yes, they do actually name drop bond phenomenon, but what does that really add? He added no new information, and we've known all along that yes, as long as the bond between Ash and Greninja is strong, this is what triggers it. I feel like we learned more back in the Ninja Village, and there was more depth and development towards the bond phenomenon when Ash was in the Snowbell arc. When he was in the episode Seeing the Forest for the Trees. Sycamore just comes to give it an official title, if I'm being quite honest with you. And then we jump into Ash versus Alon right afterwards, and prior to this was Ash versus Sawyer. I do like that in this episode we do get a moment of reflection from Sawyer, and it hits. It really hits actually. It really hits with Sawyer because he's been on this journey, and he left home. He came with Trico. He came with Bagon. And he's caught the rest of his Pokemon here. Well, I guess he caught a Slackon somewhere. But Sawyer learning so much and getting to the semifinals of his very first league, very noteworthy. But to see him just kind of like cry and break down after losing to Ash, I think was a really good moment. And it kind of revitalizes his spirit because he beat him and then he lost and he wanted to battle more. But I think the sadness shown from Sawyer was done really tastefully. I need another sip of my tea. That's good stuff right there. That's good stuff right there. It's tangerine it's like sweet tangerine with like for positivity and energy. Um, I think it's really good. It's crazy 'cause I didn't start drinking tea until last year in 2025. Um, but yeah, and I think Sawyer is really the only person that gets this moment of reflection. Because in the Sinnoh League, like not to like continue using the Sinnoh League to knock down the Kalos League. It's just that the Sinnoh League is like peak Pokemon League writing, and I guess you could argue the Alola League as well. But we get these interactions like Conway interacts, Nando interacts, Barry, Paul, Ash, Dawn, Brock. Everyone interacts together, and the first way they ever showed this and that it actually works is in the Heart Home Tag battle because all those same characters were there. Maybe not Nando. I don't remember if Nando's there. Nando may not have been there, but I know Ash, Dawn, Brock, Conway, and Paul were. And the chemistry is just so natural, and like Barry gets this moment of reflection with Paul. He gets to speak with Paul about the battle. Paul actually shows Barry respect, first and foremost. I think that's a good thing. But everything is wrapped up quite nicely, and nothing like the pacing. The pacing is very good. And when you get to the Kalos League, you kind of miss that pacing. It doesn't feel as natural. It feels like we're jumping around to A to B to C to D, E. All the plot points, it's kind of like checking off a to-do list, if you will. And I think that's the biggest thing with the Kalos League, that it is rushed. That's why we have sayings like, what is this, the Kalos League, when things are rushed. I gotta say, like, we should have seen the whole battle of Ash's Halucha beating that Mega Absol. Why wasn't that on screen? Why was that not on screen? And then it's just, I gotta say, what they did was Alon, because he's treated like Tobias in this sense, where he doesn't use any other Pokemon aside from Mega Charizard until the finals, except for Metagross. He does use Metagross, but he only uses 2 Pokemon, similarly to how Tobias just used Darkrai until he got to the semifinals of the Sinnoh League. And I think that was a good way to represent Alon. This strong trainer who we have a track record history for. He's sweeping everybody with Charizard, and I think that was a great detail for him to make him really stand out. And then of course, Ash's Greninja, changed, as the announcer says. And it just really shakes things up because no one has seen a Greninja like that. And I think they did a really good job highlighting Ash's prowess with Greninja and his Pokemon. He has a declaration that he's going to win, like in the first episode, before the league even starts. And then, of course, when he gets to his first official battle, I think the declaration that he is going to win, I think really adds more hype to it than anything. Because, yes, we all know he lost. It still hurts. makes sense. Still sucks, but it was meant to, the way the narrative works is that Ash was meant to lose. And the reason it's not as bitter of a league ending is because the loss is actually justified this time. It's not some random person who shows up just to beat him. He didn't go down, just swinging against anybody like Tobias. And then on top of it, he didn't lose to an idiot like Cameron. So, there's that. But why is the Kalos League really not as good as we remember? Again, it comes down to the fact that this league is represented by 3 battles. It's Sawyer versus Tierno, Ash versus Sawyer, and Ash versus Alon. And when your league is defined by 3 battles, I don't really think you have a substantial league. Yes, the whole thing was treated as a league. It is a 7-episode league arc, which, okay, fine, yes, it's a league arc officially. But 3 battles. Because Alon versus Trevor, they cut back and forth between Ash battling that Furfur dude. Then there's Ash versus Titus, is his name, who has the Altaria. And we only see him beat the Altaria. We don't see anything else from that entire battle. Ash beats Astrid, Alon beats Remo, and then literally in episode 2 for Analysis versus Passion, where it's Sawyer versus Tierno, we literally, I kid you not, it's the 2nd episode of this arc. We are already at the semifinals. How did we get here? Do you see how many? I will put it on the screen. Do you see how many people started in this tournament? They're all right here. They are all right here. They're all right here. Do you see all the people that started in this tournament? How are we in the semifinals already? What is this? So it just really begs the question, what were they doing? What was the end goal for writing it this way? Like, did we not have enough characters to make a substantial league? Because again, okay, we have Tiana versus Sawyer. Okay, that's fine. Remo and Astrid are characters we've already met, especially if you've already watched the Mega Evolution specials. And the writers of the mainline anime are acknowledging that, okay, most of our fans are going to watch the Mega Evolution specials, at least the Japanese audience. So if that is their assumption, that we already know Alon when he is introduced to Ash, if they assume we already know Alon, why wouldn't they assume that we already know who Astrid and Remo are? Astrid and Remo should have gotten their own, there could have been an extra episode where it's Ash versus Astrid and Alon versus Remo. We could have had those quarterfinal matches on screen. They should have been full battle. Because again, Astrid, we see Alon fight Astrid in the Mega Evolution specials, and that's kind of a quick battle. We see him, fight Remo. We see Ash fight Astrid in the Diancie movie. But it would have been nice to see a 3-on-3 to see just how strong these trainers are, rather than just, Ash beat the Mega Absol. Nice. Alon beat the Mega Garchomp. Nice. But why are we so quick to get to the semifinals? Did nothing else in the league matter? They could have. I'm sure there are other characters they could have brought back. That something I know they didn't have as many rivals as Sinnoh. I know because it's literally just Tierno and Trevor got beat, and the Tierno got beat. So I guess it's Conway and Nando, and then there was no other character like Barry. So, and then they didn't do a 3-part battle with Paul. But I don't know. And then on top of it, Ash versus Sawyer had 2 double knockouts. There was Salamence versus Noivern and Slurpuff versus Gudra. Why did we have 2 double knockouts? This really felt like the Hoenn League too, because the knockouts, oh my goodness, if we want to talk about a rushed league, and it's been a while since I've seen the Hoenn League, but I know every time I look back at it and I see how quick the knockouts are, that boggles my mind. That boggles my mind as to how quick, because sometimes, you get a Pokemon like Swellow, who's taking hits left and right, and Corphish is dealing blows left and right. And then you get moments where, Sceptile and Glalie clash with Ice Beam and Solar Beam, and that's just an instant double knockout. it quite doesn't quite make sense to me. I'm just saying, like, because I know the Hoenn League had plenty of double knockouts, or like the knockouts were very quick. This also happened in Johto too, actually. But again, those leagues, even looking back and my memory is fuzzy on them, I think they still had room to breathe. Because, you know, again, I remember that those leagues have like substantial dialogue between the characters. And then, compare that to the Kalos League, where you're not getting these, substantial, deep, dialogues, even reflective dialogues like Paul had with Barry. You're not really getting that with the Kalos League. And it, I don't know, it kind of takes away from the experience. Kind of takes away from like the journey's been building to this, where it's like the Kalos League kind of felt like just fill in a checkbox. Like, okay, time to get to the league. Let's just get the league done. I don't know if they were trying to rush to get to the Team Flare arc, because the Team Flare arc now that was great. That was great. That was peak Pokemon villain arc right there. But you know, were they rushing to get to the Team Flare arc? Like, did they really just want to conclude the events from the Mega Evolution specials? Because I mean, if that was the case, maybe they could have taken out like a couple filler episodes in XYZ. Because I know for a fact there's at least 2 episodes that could have been taken out prior to the league. Like, what's that episode with Clement where he has to deal with that locksmith? Or maybe it's just there's an episode about a locksmith. I know there is an episode about a guy with a key, and it's like, I think it's a Clef Key focused episode to introduce that Pokemon. And that, I think we could have done without that episode. Because imagine if you free up that episode in the season prior, you then get another episode towards XYZ in some capacity. You can move that episode somewhere else. So I think they should have done that, because had the Kalos League had even just one more episode, and again, I think this episode should have been used for Ash versus Astrid and Alon versus Remo. Because again, you can dedicate 10 minutes to each battle. I think that's fine. As long as you're not cutting between other stupid stuff. Because, again, Trevor deserved his, full battle on screen. Because, Trevor has always been an analytical kind of character. Very, very smart trainer. Similar to in the likeness of Sawyer. And, we don't really get to see any of that for him. And I think it really would have expanded the Kalos League, would have given us some more room to breathe. And I think like Ash and Alon getting to the semifinals would have been more believable than it, already was. Like, we definitely knew those two were going to get to the finals. But why did they get there so fast? Why did we speed run the Kalos League, essentially? Why did we speed run through the Kalos League? They literally, like, the motto for the Kalos League was gotta go fast. Like, I feel like that's what it was, essentially. And, when it comes to Trevor, I feel like Trevor as a character was disrespected because we don't get his full on-screen battle. We could have seen, and oh my goodness, his Florges. Trevor owns a Florges. We could have seen him at least, maybe he lands some damage with Fairy Wind or Moonblast and does a little bit of damage to Charizard, a little bit of damage. We don't even see that. We see all his Pokemon lose. And the writing choice, for that, I don't think was the best. Again, this league needed room to breathe. I don't know if they were rushing. I don't know if they were rushing to get to Sun and Moon. I don't know if they're rushing to get to Team Flare Arc. Because I think maybe why we look back with these rose-tinted lenses for the Kalos League is probably because we just sum up, or we kind of like lump the ending of XYZ together with the Kalos League. Team Flare Arc, the actual conclusion, League. I think we just put it all together, because I want you to tell me, what do you think of well, first off, we need hashtag justice for Trevor in the comments. But let me know what you think of when you first think of the Kalos League. Because if you tell me anything outside of these 3 battles that I've been talking about for this video, I don't believe you. Like, you can't tell me that, you're thinking of Ash versus Titus, or that you're thinking about Halucha defeating Omega Absol. Like, I like low-key forgot Halucha defeated that Omega Absol for the second time in the Kalos League. So, if you don't say Ash versus Sawyer, Ash versus Alan, or Tierno versus Sawyer, I don't know. I feel like you took longer to think about your answer, and I felt like you needed more time. But with that being said, I would like to now segue into the segment, the designated segment for this podcast, which is going to be the Twin Leaf Journal. So let's get into it. Alright, welcome to the Twin Leaf Journal. So what exactly is this segment for the podcast going to be like? Well, the segment for this is that what I'm going to do is take one thing in the anipoke community, or just in Pokemon in general, and I'm going to highlight something that I think is worthy of note. This could be a certain video from a creator, maybe an underrated creator. This could be just something that really stands out, that's something created. This could be maybe a hot take someone had posted on Twitter. Maybe this is a post I saw on Instagram. This could be a myriad of things. There's a plethora of things that I could talk about for this segment. But because Pokemon Day, and of course, happy Pokemon Day, happy 30th anniversary of Pokemon. I know this video is coming out after it's come and gone, and I know we've already got the announcement of Pokemon Wins and Pokemon Waves. I still want to celebrate that. I did make a few posts about it, so there, it's not, I haven't ignored it. But what we're going to focus on today for this segment is we're going to highlight the starters. Brout, Pombon, and Gekwa. These guys are great in my opinion, and I think I am more receptive to them than I was the Gen 9 starters. Because honestly, when I saw the Gen 9 starters and we got that Sugimori art and then got their 3D models, I was really only interested in Fuecoco, and even then it was like mild interest. It was very mild interest. I looked at Quaxley and I was like, that's just Donald Duck. And I looked at Sprigatito and I'm like, that's just grass type Litten. And my opinions have changed since then, because now I like them. But again, even choosing Fuecoco, I was just like, I guess I'll choose this one. But that's because I had a really good name for it. I named my Fuecoco Lil Chili in my first playthrough of Pokemon Scarlet. So that name is what cemented me actually picking Fuecoco. It wasn't the design, which is crazy. But seeing Brout, Pombon, and Gekwa, and just seeing the region that these guys are in and that they're inhabiting, I think, and the 3D models really give them life as well. And I think that's what sells me on them, because Pombon, that's my boy right there. So we're gonna highlight the art that I have seen from creators in just the day and a half since Pokemon Day. So we are going to start with @PCatL on Twitter, and this art for the starters is absolutely beautiful and super cool. I think it's one of the best artworks I've personally seen, because it gives them more of this Marvel DC comic book feel, and it makes them look super tough. Like, look at Brout, look at the intensity in his eyes. Pombon has like this superhero like crypto flying through the air stance, and Gekwa just looks ready for battle, to be honest. I just really think, and I will have every artist credited in the description, their art will be on screen, but this right here I think is one of the best. Just the dark shading is so comic book-esque. It's reminiscent of those old school comics that use a lot of black negative space to highlight the rest of the art and be bold in the art. And I think that's really good, and it really makes these 3 starters stand out in my opinion. We then have Pokedan_art, who made the 3 starters for Pokemon Wins and Waves. And by the way, I'm team Pokemon Wins so far, simply based off title and logo. I think the logo just looks nicer. But he put them in the old school Sugimori watercolor style art, and I think that breathes even more life into these starters that already look good. And the more I look at Brout, the more it's growing on me, actually. Speaking of Brout, and again, I really love this watercolor style, especially look at Pom Bomb. Look at Pom Bomb, he's so cute. But I made a tweet. If I end up choosing Brout, I'm naming it Bushy Brow because there is no other name that is appropriate for it. There is no other name that is appropriate for Brow. Just look at it. Look at him. Look at the official art. Tell me, they have the same eyes. Rock Lee and Brow have the same eyes. You see it. You see it, right? You see the vision. You see what I'm talking about. Yeah, so if I choose Brow, Bushy Brow is the name. There's no questions asked. I don't even know what I'm naming my Pombon yet at this point. I might just get Brow just for this, just for the laughs. But let's continue. We have Earn Muffin on Twitter, who put the starters in the style of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Like, the little profile shots of the Pokemon that you play as? That's what they did, and it looks so damn good. Like, it really makes me feel like these guys are ready to set out on an adventure, and I absolutely love it. We then have Noir_0010, and I like this because their username is actually in hiragana, which is it's it's an extended O, and then ru, Noiru. So it's extended actually, I misread that. It's Noiru. So this art breathes even more life into these little guys. Actually, it's kind of funny that like Brout has a lot of the same poses in a lot of the art, but he looks so ticked off with Pombon. And Pombom's just there chilling, having a great old time. Gekko's like, oh my gosh, the water's lovely. Yeah, I just think this art is fantastic as well. Then we have Katu0203, who actually put these, at least Pombon and Brout, in a more dynamic pose. Like, they are really setting off on an adventure, and Gekko's kind of there like, I'm ready to go, I guess. I really think the art here for them is fantastic. It's nice to see Brout, just running around and whatnot. Then we have at Huafuru. This is by Harlequin Waffles. Huafuru. It's just funny to say. This art is very energetic. This art looks like these guys are racing to whatever the destination is, racing to the next gym. If we have gyms, I don't know, maybe we'll have something similar to Legend ZA, where we had characters that acted as gym leaders, but they really weren't. This art is just very energetic. It's very alive. It's very, just upbeat, I would say this art is. And Harlequin Waffles actually has two different pieces of art that I'm including here because, well, the first one looks like they're setting off. This next one, I think, really shows off their personality a lot. Gekko is moving with precision. Pombon is very happy-go-lucky in its movements, and then Brow is just like, oh my god, I'm surrounded by these two idiots. Which is funny because Gekko is not described as an idiot, it's described as very intelligent. So there's that. Next up, we have R. Cortez Draws. And again, we have another one that's put them in the old school Sugimori style with the watercolor. And I think this one is better because it's kind of giving that Gen 2 vibe, not Gen 1. I think this is super, super good. Especially just, Pombon is just so alive. Maybe that's just because it's personality, but it's just so alive in all of the art. Next, let's go to Leo Iruga, which puts these three starters in like a very pretty style. I mean, it is very pretty. And they even have custom Pokeballs here. That's the real kicker. They have custom Pokeballs, and anytime someone makes a custom Pokeball, I think it's an automatic win. It's a good piece of art. Gekko, why does Gekko look so sinister? It looks so sinister, like it's plotting their downfall. Definitely gonna be Water Psychic. Brown looks really cute here, actually. And then, Pombon, great, as always. Next, let's move on to Aliza Kusuma, which this is very simple, but it's very cute. I just really like it. It's nice side profiles of them going on a little adventure. Kind of reminds me of that Beatles cover shot where they go across the sidewalk. Not sidewalk. They use the crosswalk. God, why couldn't I think of that word? Yeah, I just think it's really great art. This one is one of my personal favorites because people have been noticing that like Pom Pom looks like baby Arcanine or baby Zamazenta. This art from Yuma03 is fantastic. It's literally a dad and his son, and this is so good. This solidifies my choice with Pom Pom because I chose Shield and I chose Zamazenta and I named it Gardna after Big Shield Gardna from Yu-Gi-Oh! And just seeing a little baby Zamazenta, this is fantastic. I love it. Next we have Ikaro Mozart with 2 T's. This is just funny. This is that 3-headed dragon like Ghidorah thing. This meme, y'all know the meme. It's on screen. This is just funny because it captures their energy perfectly. I love it. Then we have art from Zuko Dave, which nice name. Sprites made actual like good-looking sprites for the Pokemon, and they add even more personality. Like Pom Pom is down on all fours, ready to, you know, maybe pounce, cook some food, whatever. Brout looks like it's just ready to socialize, and then Gekwa is legit ready for battle, and I absolutely love it. Then we have this meme from Wiglier, the Angry Birds. We all seen it. This is really good, and this is what making me love Brout even more. The more I look at Brout, the more I just love it, because originally Brout was my least favorite, but I think it's edging out Gekwa now. And I think that is going to do it for all the art. That's going to not quite wrap up the Twin Leaf segment, because I do want to talk about what I think about these starters. So let's talk about Pom Pom for a second. My absolute favorite. Pom Pom is absolutely amazing. It has such a lighthearted spirit. It's got a friendly, happy-go-lucky spirit, and it's known as guileless, which means it's just got no thoughts up there, no brain cells. But it goes around, it's happy, and it looks like it's just loving life, enjoying life, and I think the design is really great. It's based on a Pomeranian. It's a very cute breed of dog, you know, and the Spitz is actually the family of where Pomeranians come from, and I think they nailed the Pom Pom design. I think they really, really nailed it. I would love to see it become a fire fairy type. I think that is a type that would be good for this Pokemon, because when we've gotten dogs in the past, especially cute ones like this, you know, a lot of them have become fairy type, like Fido evolving into Daxbun is a very good example, but it was based around food. And of course, you know, there is a tie with Pomeranians and food. You know, they love food, and the thing with that is in its name is the word bonbon, which is a nice lighthearted, you know, treat or dessert. And I think if that is where Pom Pom is getting his name from, then we could see a fire fairy dog. And I think that's what we should be getting for Pom Pom. I can't wait to see what it evolves into as a bigger dog. Maybe it will take a likeness to Arcanine. Maybe it'll take more of a dark turn like Houndoom. Or maybe it will have some similarities to Zamazenta. Who knows? But I cannot wait to see what Pom Pom turns into. It is the starter I'm picking, and hopefully it becomes Fire Fairy or maybe Fire Ground type. We shall see, but Pom Pom is a great starter. Next, let's talk about Brout. Brout is the one that is becoming my second favorite right now, and Brout, the Angry Bird, the bushy brow Pokemon, Brout is absolutely amazing right now. Yeah, it's gone from meh to very amazing, and I think what we're gonna see is not a repeat of Rowlet, because it's pure grass, it's not grass flying. And what I think we are going to see is that Brout will turn into a grass flying, potentially in the second stage, but if not, I think it will turn into a grass fighting type. It's very clumsy, and it's giving energy that this will be a flightless bird. The region looks like it's going to be based off Indonesia, or maybe even just the Philippines, or it could be based around the Caribbean. But even so, I don't think that Brout will turn into a grass flying type. I don't think they want to repeat Rowlet, but they might repeat the typing of Chestnut. And I think we might get, because it's stated that it is clumsy on the official Pokemon website, and in its 3D model, it's looking like it's struggling to get off the ground and fly. So I do believe if we get a dual type grass starter for Brout, I think it's going to be grass fighting, similar to Hisuian Decidueye. Gekwa is the water type starter, and I think that this has the potential to become a water psychic type. It's definitely growing on me, and it's very sassy. It's very got that girly slay personality, and I really like it. The water eyelashes, it's giving very feminine energy, and I hope it doesn't become overly feminine, similar to the very slim, slender proportions of Inteleon, even though that's not really a feminine Pokemon. But Pokemon like Primarina are overtly feminine. And then, of course, ones like Meowscarada lean more into the femininity aspect, even though it is a magician, so it can be both masculine and feminine. But given that it is an intelligent Pokemon, I think that Gekwa will become a water psychic type in the future in its 3rd stage or even its 2nd stage. I do think it also has the potential to become a water poison type, given that it is a gecko in a tropical island region. I think that would not be too far of a stretch, and it's just got a sleek, slender design. I do think it's very cute, and I love lizards, so it's not water type Trico, even though, people see that similarity. While that's great and all, I do think Gekwa stands out. I do think it puts a new spin on giving us a lizard Pokemon, and even a new water lizard like Sobble before it. I think they really upped the design quality, because I wasn't big on Sobble, but Gekwa is amazing, and I cannot wait to see what it turns into, hopefully a future, water psychic type. Those are my thoughts on the starters, and that is going to wrap up the Twin Leaf Journal section, and I hope you enjoyed, seeing all these art. Of course, all the artists and their works will be credited down in the description below, so you can check out their posts and all the other amazing art that they definitely have on their pages, and that I think is also great, especially some of them like Harlequin Waffles. But now let's wrap it up. What are my final thoughts on the Kalos League? Was it really a mid Pokemon League? Is it as good as we remember? I don't think it is. I think the parts of it that are great are great. I think the parts that are great definitely stand out. They are excellent. They are well executed. They have the substance. They have the depth. They have the fluid animation. They have the stakes, the intensity, the passion. I think it's all there. But, when it comes to, where the league is placed, when it does come to, what got focused, what didn't get focused, I think the league took a big step backwards. And I'm not saying it's worse than the Unova League. God, no. But I am saying it is not on par with leagues like the Sinnoh League and even the Alola League. I think I need to mature a little bit as an XY stan. I think I need to mature, grow, and, take a step back and realize the Alola League is better than the Kalos League. Yes, I've said it. I have said it. This might start a Sun and Moon XY controversy down below, but you let me know. What are your thoughts on the Kalos League? I think that, man, this is good tea. I do think that the Kalos League is great. By no means it is a bad league. It's just not as good as we remember, because the league as a whole entity is rushed. It is rushed. They put a lot of details together that, they feel haphazard almost. They feel as though they're just kind of being put together rather than being put together coherently and cohesively where they make sense for the narrative. It feels like we, jump around, literally just jump around. Oh, here's this detail. Here's that detail. And again, with the rushed opening, it speaks for itself about the Kalos League, to be honest with you. But they do nail the semifinals and they do nail the finals. And I think that's what really matters. At least for execution and battle purposes. But when you ignore so many other details and put them together in this haphazard way and rush over details, and you can't focus on the details that matter, you make it so your league is a bit mid. If this was 2016 Champion Blaze, I'd be giving the Kalos League 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. And even a couple years ago, I think I still would have gave the Kalos League a 9 or 8 out of 10. But now looking back, I think the Kalos League deservedly gets a 7 out of 10. I think 6 is a little low. I think a solid 7 out of 10 for the league. Because again, your league is defined by only 3 battles, and that's kind of mid. That is. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm speaking outlandishly here, you know. But y'all gotta let me know what you think of the Kalos League, what leagues you think were better, and where you think the Kalos League came up short. I do hope you've enjoyed the Sacred Legends podcast. This is episode 1. These will air. I know this first one did not air. That's on time. But the next ones will be Sundays, Eastern Standard Time at noon. And I hope to see you in the next podcast. And until next time, Pokemon Champions, train hard. And I'll catch you guys later.